Hey guys, welcome to my channel, and today we are going to be filming a how we met video. This is my husband James, for those who don't know.
Hi.
So we have a pretty in-depth story, so I thought it'd be really fun to hop on here and actually record it. It's definitely going to be a lot of bouncing back and forth because we have obviously not two different stories, but
two different views of the story.
So to start, we've been friends since 20...
We've been friends since we were 13.
Yeah.
So...
And we're 25 now.
Gosh, what was that? Like 2012, 2013?
Yeah. We've been friends for a very long time.
About half our lives.
Literally. So James and I were both homeschooled. We both met at a little, kind of like a co-op type thing. If you're homeschooled, you're familiar with that.
It's like a once a week school for homeschoolers. So that we learn music and drama and art and stuff like that. So we had computer art classes, learned like Photoshop, and I specifically did a lot of music classes.
Yeah, and I went and pretty much was terrible at music and art, and the only thing I was actually really good at was drama class, and that was like an acting class.
And that's where we kind of
bonded.
We were in the same classes.
Yeah. Our teachers probably hated us because we were talking so much and goofing off in class all the time. But anyways, we met through that. It was called Faith Center. That's where we met. And that was way back when. So basically we met, we were like just best friends. Like we literally were just platonic best friends in each other's phones. We were literally my BFF.
Yeah.
That was our thing. Like we trademarked each other as like, that's my best friend. And pretty much it's kind of like, that's all they are, is my best friend. And we would tease each other about like other people all the time. And it's kind of like I was teasing him about other girls and everything, totally meaning it because I was talking to other people too, but I was teasing him with like a slight inside, like, oh, I wonder how he's gonna react to this, or like, I don't know, like it was just teasing each other.
Yeah, it was just like we were so close that we told each other everything, but we'd never actually told each other that we secretly had a crush on each other.
And well, okay, so going back,
but it truly was platonic.
It was.
We had no.
It truly was platonic. And so going back, this is like sophomore year of high school, sophomore and junior year of high school. We obviously were still just best friends. That's all we've ever been. And that was, senior year.
Wait, what are you talking about?
About like when prom.
Oh, senior year.
Yeah, okay. So
we've been basically, to sum it up, we've been best friends since sophomore year, and we're jumping ahead to senior year now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm all over the place. So senior year comes around, we still have both of us at this point had never dated anybody at all. Like, we definitely talked to people, but dating was like, okay, if you're boyfriend, girlfriend, then you're dating. That's how I think of dating. That's how you think of dating. Mm-hmm. So we both never dated anybody. So senior year comes around, and you can tell this side of the story.
Okay, so senior year comes around. Basically, I had plans to ask Becca out, ask Becca to the prom, and I did. But I asked super early because I was like, I don't want anyone to snatch her up. So
literally like in February.
Yeah, I asked like January, February, which was like the first in our graduating class to ask. But I made sure that I was going to prom with her.
Because prom was in June.
Yeah. But I was wanting to like actually tell her how I felt and kind of tell her that I had feelings for her instead of just like asking her out as friends. But basically, I just asked her to prom as friends, and I thought I had more time to like tackle the other part later. So
at that point now, this is probably, I think you asked me in February or January. April rolls around and somebody slides into my DMs. And at this point, I, again, never have dated anybody. I was just honestly like James, I always thought James was attractive. I always thought like there was always like a chemistry there, but I thought it was just a best friend chemistry. For the longest time, I literally was like, oh, that spark that I feel, that like excitement I feel every time I talk about him and see him and I'm with him is just because he's like my best friend. And that's like I told myself that's how I knew that he was my best friend. Like there's just, you are always excited to be around them. And I genuinely thought that was like what it was all that time. We'll get into that in a little bit, but so April rolls around and somebody DMs me, Christian guy, you know, everything to me lines up. I'm like, okay, the first Christian guy to give me like attention, because everyone else didn't line up with my morals or was on the same page as me. So I didn't even want to give anyone else attention. So I started talking to that guy and we clicked and we started dating.
Yep.
And this was before prom with James. So obviously I'm a good friend. I was not about to bail on James at all. Like I still really, really wanted to go to prom with him. I was like, again, had no idea that he was even thinking about telling me how he felt or anything.
Yeah.
So prom rolls around and I'm dating this other person, but I go to prom with James and like I make it known to my ex-boyfriend, like, hey, I'm gonna still go to prom with my best friend because he's my best friend and I'm not gonna not go with him. And he understood, and we went to prom and it was still so fun. Like it was still such a fun prom. It wasn't awkward at all. Obviously you can explain how you felt at this point now.
That's kind of like not the highlight. That's like the common denominator of our entire story, is that we've always been so comfortable around each other and it's always been such a connection.
Yeah.
Even, you know, when we were dating or when you were dating someone else, or like just best friends the whole time. It was just, we've always had the connection that you would like dream of.
Yeah.
But basically, when she started dating this guy, I was basically heartbroken. I didn't know what to think because it just kind of caught me off guard. I just thought I had more time and maybe at prom or something like that, I would tell her my feelings. But obviously this changed the situation, so I couldn't tell her my feelings. And I guess I could have, but I didn't want to get in between like the relationship that they just started. And I was just basically, I pulled myself out of it and I just said, hey, if it's meant to be someday, it's meant to be. But I was heartbroken.
And that literally breaks my heart because like I had no idea that was even going on in his head at all. And obviously he was being such a good friend by not even like at that point kind of just holding the hurt in, but still being there to support me and my new relationship. Mm-hmm. And there were times that literally all three of us would hang out together.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we literally, I think that summer we hung out like
we like the three of us went to a movie together. Like I have a picture of me in the middle and them two on the side. We were just like, I don't know. I didn't think that he ever had feelings for me at that point, and you did a pretty good job hiding it.
My gosh. Yeah.
So see, that's senior year. So I date the guy for 4 years. You, at that point, you go to college. Mm-hmm. You can just like explain a little bit about that.
So basically that whole summer we hang out all together all the time, and it's kind of the same type of dynamic as it always was between us. We were just like best friends. Goofy together and just like, you know, teasing each other and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I just kind of, but basically what was happening in my mind, in my heart, like I was just trying to just kind of move on and just slowly move on towards, you know, college and my next stage of life. So I go out of state to go to college. I go down to Virginia, and basically that starts a four-year cycle of just me trying to get over Becca. And I went on dates with girls and, you know, just tried to see if I could find some sort of connection that I had with Becca, but nothing ever compared. there was, you know, on each first date, I would just sit down and be like, could this person sitting across from me just match what Becca and I have, like the connection that Becca and I have, you know, built over the years, and just the connection that we just had from such a young age. And every time the answer was no. So to be honest, those relationships didn't last long. They just lasted maybe 1-2 dates. And it was always just like, oh, new girl, let's see if they can match it. And then they don't. And then I'm just like a hopeless romantic. So for 4 years, that basically happened. And it literally up to the point where, you know, obviously we'll talk
where I'm about to go. Yeah. So that was going on in his world. And in my world, I was in a very, very serious relationship with somebody who I cared so much about and truly loved in that season of my life. And things went down in that relationship that I'm not going to go too into detail about, but that were really just eye-opening to me. And the Lord, as I got closer and closer to the Lord in that season, the Lord, I felt like, was just revealing to me certain things that I had never seen before or really paid attention to before that stood out to me in that time period of my life. And I remember just, you know, there were times in that time span where I just remember going before the Lord and asking, is this really for me? And, you know, I felt like in that season it was. And again, I had my goals of where I wanted it to go. And I did feel like I was kind of telling God, like, God, I got this. This is the plan that I know you have for me, or telling myself that. And so we end up getting engaged. That person and I got engaged. And I remember feeling like the Lord, I remember not feeling 100% peace. And I couldn't put my finger on it because I knew that I loved this person, and I knew that in my head I was like, God, why would you take me this far in a relationship to flip and say this isn't for me? And I remember God kind of telling me as clear as day, and realizing to myself, well, what if this isn't what God was ordaining? What if this is just you who is driving this car down this road? Because there was many times where I felt like, hey, this might not be it. After getting engaged, I remember feeling obviously on top of the moon, because you get engaged and you're so excited to start wedding planning. But deep down, I remember feeling a feeling like, God, what is this feeling I'm feeling? Because I don't feel peace about something, and I don't know what it is. And at this point, I already put down thousands of dollars in a wedding venue. I already had obviously the venue booked, my dress bought, my guest list planned, my menu plan, everything. Like, the details were all booked. I just had to send out the invites. And I remember throughout that time, I was getting closer and closer to the Lord in that time period. And I remember feeling like a louder and louder voice telling me that this was not the relationship that the Lord had for me. And it was almost like the Lord was like, you were about to marry this person. And this is the last time that I'm giving you this warning. Not even warning, because like, he's a great guy, and not even like there was anything with him directly. It was more so, it wasn't God's best relationship for me and like for
God's
us. God's best plan. Yeah. And that was very clear to me. And there were so many signs too that I had, even in just like dreams, and just hearing the Lord so clearly through a ton of things that I knew like this was not it. So I decided to end the relationship.
And the engagement.
And that's another thing. Like, I was more so verging on the side, like, I don't know what this plan is for my life. But I remember just, you know, talking to my mom and talking to my grandma and talking to my friends and my family. And I just was like, I think I'm just going to postpone the wedding. There's no way I can get married at that point, I ended it in
It was like March,
April, and I was getting married in September, so it was months
Mm-hmm.
away. And I knew like there's no way I can get married in a few months, so decided to postpone the wedding. And then I felt the Lord say as clear as day to me, I don't want you to just postpone the wedding. I want you to actually end the relationship. And my heart, I've like never felt that sick to my stomach as I did in that moment. I remember just being like, God, how could you lead me down this path for this long? Allow me to literally, I'm like a people pleaser. I hate seeing people upset at me. I hate seeing people cry. Especially people I love. So for me, I was telling myself, there's no way I can end this. I can't upset his family. I can't upset my family. I can't upset anybody. I just was like beside myself. Then I knew there's no way I could do this on my own. The Lord literally worked through me so strongly where I had courage that I didn't even know existed in my heart. I had so much just like clarity in that season where I knew this is what the Lord is calling me to. There was a point where I was even like, God, if you want me single for the rest of my life, please no. Like, please, I hope that's not your will. But like, if it is, then I'm going to be okay with that. Because I knew that whatever the season I was in at that time, I knew that wasn't it. I knew that God's hand was not over it. And it's not like I knew the whole time. That's not what I'm saying. Like throughout the 4 years, there was definitely happy moments where I thought that it was God's plan. But towards the end, especially after the engagement, that's where the Lord's voice was just getting clearer and clearer. So ended the relationship. Although I was absolutely heartbroken and it was like the hardest season of my entire life, the Lord was there through the entire season with me. And I had peace about the decision that I didn't even know existed in my heart. I knew that was the plan. And then
so at that time, I think you ended it in like March or April. And
April.
So
it was after April.
Yeah, okay. Kind of rewind a tiny bit. I was end of February. I think my school had a night of worship and a night of a speaker named Francis Chan came, and his message really tug on my heart like so much about everything I was putting in front of my relationship with God. And it was just a moment of clarity of, I'm putting, my desire to be in a relationship, my career, my music, my just so many different things that I was just so wrapped up inside my mind about. I was putting all of those things in front of my relationship with God. And it was just a moment of clarity, and it was just kind of a centered focus on God, you're my everything, and you're my you're my number one. I'm going to look to you in all aspects of my life. And basically that just kind of squandered any thought of a relationship or any need of a relationship that I felt in my heart. And at the time I was getting over, like, it was just a relationship that I was trying to make work, and something that I just felt, so clearly was not from God. And just,
it was like a season of surrender.
Yeah, it was just a season of surrender. And at that point on, I just really, truly felt for the first time in my life, I'm happy to be single, and I'm happy to be, just living for God. And I don't need a relationship. I don't need a girl. I don't need all these like hopeless romantic feelings to get in the way, so
yeah.
That was kind of a moment that I had. And little did I know, probably less than a month from that point on, like Becca would be, ending her 4-year-long relationship. So it was truly God's timing throughout that whole thing. And like, I was not thinking about Becca. And
like this had nothing to do with like either of us could have cared less if we could have both been engaged in that season, and God would have still been saying the same thing. It's just so funny to see how God works, where when we're both in a season of surrender is when he makes it clear about what we're about to lead into, about how he brought us together after all those years. So
at that point, I'll just go here. So at that point, I was thinking about internships and what I wanted to do for the summer. And I really wanted to get an internship in Nashville, or, you know, I wanted to get a music internship somewhere. And I had applied to a bunch of different places, but nothing was landing. So my mom was actually going through surgery at home. That was kind of like one of those things that I just felt like I needed to go home and just be with her for the summer and just kind of be home for the summer. It was the last thing I wanted to do, because in my mind, I didn't know at the moment what Becca was going through, but in my mind, I was like, I don't want to be hanging out with Becca and like her fiance like the entire summer while they're wedding planning. And like, that was the last thing I wanted to do. So truly reluctantly, I went home for the summer. I chose to go home for the summer. I made that decision before I ever heard about Becca, breaking up with her fiance.
Yeah. And so at this point, now fast forward a little bit, I have broken up with my ex-fiance, and just in a season where I'm like, God, you told me to listen to you. You better have a plan, because like now I'm single and lost all this money for my wedding venue, and now I feel lost.
Yep.
But so fast forward to the summer, I found out that James is coming back. And it's like, we should meet up and hang out then, like just to literally catch up.
At this point, obviously you were broken up with, and I was just like, well, I don't want to rush anything at all, but I honestly still have feelings.
Yeah. So at this point now, we go get sushi, and right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sushi.
Like,
sushi and like ice cream or something.
Yeah. We go get sushi, and we just like, we're literally just catching up. I'm saying everything that's been going on in my life, or that's just gone on my life. He's now saying that he has a few years of college left, and like what he plans on doing, where he wants
just one more year.
Oh, one more year. And just saying like, where he wants to live and everything, and we're just catching up. And in that moment, I remember just looking across the table at James and just eating sushi and just being like, wow, I feel like my heart just felt at home almost, like that. I just felt so comfortable to be around my best friend again, and just hanging out with my best friend like it had always been years prior. And it was just like such a wholesome, we were just hanging out. Keep in mind, this is in June.
Like, the very beginning of summer.
Yeah.
And so basically it just kind of grew from there, and I obviously just started to, get more and more feelings.
So we're literally at McDonald's I think it was the same day or like the same week or something.
It was like end of June.
Okay. Yeah. So we were just hanging out again, and now keep in mind, at this point, I was still having my best friend feelings, like just excited every time I talked about him and hung out with him. And again, I'm single at this point. And I remember just being like, are these feelings, or like, are these still those just best friend jitters? And it was pretty clear to me, like, okay, I think these are actual feelings. But again, way too soon to even get into a relationship, because my heart was still healing. Like, definitely my heart was still healing. So we had a conversation one day, and I asked the big question because I remember just getting feelings like, okay, I think he's acting like he likes me, and like I'm getting these feelings that he has feelings for me. So
I wasn't going to like mention that I liked her so quickly after.
Yeah, because obviously you knew I had to heal too.
I was thinking about the timing of things, but she asked the question. Basically, she asked.
Wait, guys.
Oh, okay.
I asked after you're sitting in the car, and then I said, so I have a question. Again, I'm like a little nervous, but I was like, I had my like third cup of coffee at that point because I was drinking a hot coffee, and I'm like, I'm just gonna ask the question because like, what could go wrong here? Like, everything's already gone wrong in my life. Like, what else could go wrong? So I was like, I have a question. When did you stop liking me? Because like in my head, I'm like, oh, I never actually like, you know, I know you said back in high school, but like, when did you actually stop? And he was literally like,
I didn't know what I answered.
I didn't. And literally, like, from that point on, I was like, he was so nervous and so caught off guard. I don't think he was expecting me to ask that. But I asked it because I'm like, well, why not? And basically, we got into a conversation where we're like, you know what? He told me how he felt. I told him, I think that, like, I feel the same way. I have to say, like, I do. But it's way too early to get into a relationship. And I think we were also saying like the last thing we wanted and the last thing I wanted was to get into a relationship so quickly and have it fall through and have that be the second time. And my heart couldn't go through it. I couldn't go through it. At this point, we're like mature adults who like the last thing we wanted was to invest into a mature, real relationship and have it fall through because we rushed into it too fast. So both of us just really wanted to like put it before God and make sure that it was his plan.
And actually, the timing of it was great because I think that was like maybe days before I went on a 2-week-long music tour that I was doing for the summer. And it gave us time to kind of be apart from each other and just really pray about it.
Yeah. But I will say,
yeah,
I knew like immediately that as soon as I hung out with James after everything and after like I was broken up and everything and I hung out with him again, like I knew deep down, and I wasn't gonna like say it because but I knew like this is who I've had for you. This is who I want you to marry, and this is who I had in my plans for you. And
I knew it too. It was like
both of us just knew. We just knew we just knew.
I just knew that if it ever happened, it would be like we'd be getting married. We'd be spending the rest of our lives together.
Yeah. He asked me to be his girlfriend, and literally like we went on a hike and he asked me, and then we were walking down from the hike and we were already like planning our wedding guest list.
Yeah.
Like
the second I asked her to be my girlfriend, we literally were like, okay, so this person will come to our wedding, this person.
Yeah, like we knew this is it. This is who God's had. We're getting married.
And funny enough, we got married during COVID, so those lists did not,
yeah, they didn't even happen.
Those lists didn't matter at all.
But
so yeah, we dated for basically a year, and then the next year, so that was October. The next September, we should tell how I proposed.
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is a huge part. Okay, so
there's lots of like bouncing.
Yeah, this is very long-winded, so sorry. But basically, one of the summers when we were in high school, one of our favorite days together was July 4th. We spent the whole day together as just like friends and
platonic,
like truly platonic. But we just did a bunch of different things. We saw fireworks. We hung out with friends. We went to like
McDonald's.
We went to McDonald's. We went to like a little fair in our like a parking lot somewhere near our like home, and we just like spent the entire day together as high school friends. And
yeah, like keep in mind, like we had never even like kissed until we were dating, and like
this was like
to
long
debunk all
before
the rumors,
all the rumors out there. But yeah, so July 4th, we did all those things, and it was like our favorite day together. We always remembered it. It was just very special. So
it was just iconic.
Fast forward the summer that we started like talking again, or like started talking for the first time. Our first date, I actually made to be on July 4th, and I recreated the whole day. We did the exact same thing. We went to the same park. We went to the same like fair type thing.
Mm-hmm.
We went we went on a drive.
Literally, like the whole day he recreated and made it like as our
and then
official
added
first
some
date.
things. We went to a drive-in movie, which obviously wouldn't have been I think the
Yeah.
type of friendship type of
that
vibe.
wasn't in the day. With
Yeah,
my
no.
friends.
But it was our first date, and I brought her like flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I brought her daisies, and basically, and we went to McDonald's. That's like the main thing. The next year, on July 4, we were in Wyoming, which was
On a family trip.
yeah, where my sister was living at the time, with her husband, and her family. But we went up to the Grand Teton National Park, which is like, we love national parks.
Yeah.
We love like hiking. We love like anything outdoors. So I went to Jenny Lake. We basically just made a trip up there like for sunrise, and we saw the sunrise, and I tried to hide it as much as possible that I was, proposing. I had like daisies in like water and like the igloo and stuff. I brought like champagne. I brought a bunch of snacks, and like
It was like the most magical proposal
Yeah.
ever.
so July 4 for our third July 4 special July 4 together.
Yeah.
We I proposed to her. She obviously said yes, and I had the same daisies as our first date, and then
Yeah.
we
And-
went to McDonald's after.
Yes, literally. So every July 4 that we spend together, we know we can't recreate the tradition every time, but we do go to McDonald's.
McDonald's
every other.
is, I think it's the only day of the year we go to McDonald's. Like truly.
We're not even like, we don't even love McDonald's, but we just go because it's
Yeah.
iconic now at this point.
But
so,
yeah, and I got a tattoo
oh yeah,
for.
people
Yeah,
always ask
so-
him like, oh, is it his favorite holiday?
So July 4, these are the daisies I got her, and yeah, it's just after that special day.
Yeah. So that was July 2020. And keep in mind, that's during COVID. So in our heads we're like, okay, we're obviously gonna get married probably a year and a half from now, like typical, we have to
Well, during COVID, we were like already starting to be like, okay, when are we gonna get married?
Yeah.
So we were trying to already make plans for our wedding, and then COVID happened, and we were like, so what's going on? Like, how can we? Because our ideal thing was our ideal wedding was to be out in like the desert somewhere in Joshua Tree or something like that.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have like, the people closest to us be there, and a bunch of friends to be there too.
Yeah.
But COVID happened, and that obviously made us just think about everything differently.
Yeah.
And we basically just said, what if we get married in September?
Oh no, my dad, I was telling him about it, and I was like, I literally was crying because I was like, I want to have my dream wedding. Like, I've gone through so much. I just want a wedding with James. And
So this is March or April or something like that of 2020, and I'm thinking, if we're getting married in September, then I have to propose. So
yeah.
I knew it was gonna be July 4. I just didn't have anything planned, and it would be a really, really quick engagement. But
Yeah.
we just planned it that way because we figured might as well just get married.
Yeah. Well, and because I was talking to my dad one day in the living room, and I was like telling him about how we wanted to get married in California and have this desert wedding, and they were saying, Becca, California is the worst place to be right now during mid-COVID because everything was shut down. And he was like, why don't you but then I was telling him like, Dad, I don't want to wait a year and a half and whatever. And he's like, why don't you just get married this summer or fall? And in my head I'm like, okay.
All right.
Why not? So we ended up having a beachfront wedding, literally beautiful.
Just our family, and literally just grandparents and immediate family, basically.
It was like everything and more. It was the most special, beautiful day ever. The entire beach was empty. We got married at golden hour. Literally, I think our wedding was at like 4:45 or something. Like,
it was great.
It was just the most magical day. And now we've been married for 2.5 years. 2.5?
More than that.
Yeah, more than 2.5. In September, it will be 3 years. So that is a summed up version of my and James' love story. He's just a blessing from the Lord, and God has just worked through us so much, and he's just so faithful, and I am so beyond blessed to have a marriage with my best friend, and that is just so Christ-centered. And that's our short story.
That's the story.
It's definitely like very, very long and lengthy and bounced around a lot, but
Yeah, I hope this isn't like an hour
that's
long.
how it is. But until next time, bye guys.
Bye.